So in this video I will be discussing about design of beams module 5. So starting with introduction. See, beams are the structural elements which are subjected to transverse loads in the direction perpendicular to the length of the beam. So due to this transverse loads you will be getting bending moments and shear force. So usually if you use symmetrical sections, if you go for symmetrical sections it will be economical. The compression flange of the beams can be laterally supported or laterally unsupported depending upon whether the restraints are provided or not. That means, so you are having two types of beams here: laterally supported, that means they are restrained from moving laterally, or laterally unsupported, that means they are unrestrained to move in the lateral direction. So basically there are two types: laterally supported beams and laterally unsupported beams. The beams are usually designed for maximum bending moment. The same happens in RCC also, and they are checked for maximum shear force, but whereas here we will be checking for local effects also, and such as vertical buckling and crippling of webs, and also we will be checking for deflection. So beams can be fabricated to form different types of cross sections for the specific requirements of spans and loadings. If you take an example of RCC, the only option is you have to go with a rectangular one, whereas here it can be fabricated in any shape based on the requirements. So moving on, let us see the types of beam cross sections. So beams can be of different cross sections and it depends on span and also loadings. So this is a simple I section. So simple I sections are used for normal spans and normal loadings. It can be a medium beam, wide flange beam, or light beams. Here you can see an I section which is used as a beam along with two plates, and these two plates are called as cover plates. So one with each flange is being used, and these cover plates will be running throughout the length of the beam. So this is an example of two I sections with cover plates. See, I section with cover plates are used when you are having heavy loads and also spans are large. In some cases, if depth of the beam is to be restricted due to some functional reasons, smaller depth I sections with cover plates can be used. Using this additional cover plates increases the lateral load resistance of any beam. We can use I section in this fashion also, one above the other. See, two I sections placed one above the other can be used when the loads are light but the spans are large. So when the spans are large, deflection will be the main criteria. So in such case, you can use this type of arrangement. So this is called as gantry girder sections. These will be used in industries. So on top of this beam, a moving beam will be placed. This moving beam will be used to lift the loads. You can see here an I section with channel section is being used here, and here an I section with cover plates and channel section is being used. So this kind of arrangement is called as gantry girder cross sections. I told earlier, gantry girders can be used in industrial buildings to lift heavy loads. So these are other gantry girder cross sections. So this is a type of beam which is called as castellated beam. So this is a side view of an I section. So this is the web portion, and these two are the thicknesses of flanges. So in the web will be designed in this fashion, or web will be cut in this fashion. So this castellated beams are special sections fabricated from I sections and are used for very light loads because most of the area is lost over here in the web portion, and for large spans. The only reason for providing this opening is to help for service lines. So this is a box section, hollow section. So box sections have large torsional rigidity and can be used as a single cell, that means only one box, twin cell, two boxes, or multi-cell sections. So moving on to the next section, classification. So there are four classes of section, namely plastic, compact, semi-compact, and slender sections, which is described in IS 800-2007 clause 3.7.2 in page number 17. For design of beams, we will be considering only plastic and compact sections. So let us see why. You can see the graph over here. This graph is drawn for all the four types of classification here: slender, semi-compact, compact, and You see on the y-axis you can see the moment here. So let us see what is the difference between these four classes. See, starting with class 4, that is slender. See here in the cross section, these are the ones in which the elements buckle locally even before reaching yield stress. So if you take any section, it may be I section, channel section, anything, if it falls under slender, it won't even reach yield stress. It will fail by buckling itself. So this is not recommended. You can see here this point is very low and compared to other classes or this classification. So move on to class 3, semi-compact. See, in this type of cross sections, the extreme fiber in compression can reach yield stress. So if I am using a section which falls under this category, it will reach yield stress. That means it is having slightly more load carrying capacity when compared to slender sections. Move on to compact. Here the cross sections can develop plastic moment of resistance after yielding. So these kind of sections will reach yielding, and after that it can develop plastic moment of resistance. You can see this is better than semi-compact and slender. So moving on to the plastic one. Here these cross sections you can develop plastic hinges. See, as the class increases, load carrying or moment carrying capacity also increases for these classes. See, this can't even reach yield stress, so load carrying capacity is less because it will fail early due to buckling. So semi-compact can reach yield stress, that means it can take more load compared to slender ones. So compact one can reach yield, and after even that it can reach plastic moment of resistance. That means it can handle more better when compared to semi-compact. So moving on to plastic, it will reach the yield, it will reach the state where it can develop plastic moment of resistance, and even further it can form plastic hinges. So when all this mechanism is happening, yielding, developing capacity to increase the plastic moment of resistance, and developing plastic hinges, it will be going on taking the loads till it reaches these stages. So this is the reason why we will be using only plastic and compact sections for designing of beams, because it can take more load compared to the other classes. Moving on to the types of beam. In this type of arrangement, these are called as purlins and these are called as rafters. So this is a general beam here. These are beams, these are joists, spandrel beams. You can see here. So this is a truss. So this is called as flow beam, and these are called as stringes. So these are the different types of beams in steel. So types of beam based on the type of support: simply supported beams, cantilever beams, fixed beams, and continuous beams. Speaking of lateral stability of beams, a beam transversely loaded in its own plane can attain its full capacity. That means it can reach a plastic moment of plastic hinges only if local and lateral instabilities are prevented. So if you want to go for a section which can develop plastic hinges, if you want a section to reach a state where it can develop plastic hinges, then you have to take care of two things, that is local and lateral instabilities. So starting with local buckling. So local buckling of beams due to the web crippling and web buckling. They are avoided by proper dimensioning of the bearing plate and through secondary design checks. So this I will be discussing later. The other thing is lateral buckling. So lateral buckling of beams is the out of plane bending and is due to compressive force in the flange. So if you take care of local buckling and lateral buckling, that means local and lateral instabilities, your section, provided it falls under class 1, can attain its full capacity. So if you are using class 1 and if you are not taking care of local and lateral instabilities, it won't reach its full capacity. So if you are using a section which falls under class 1 and it has the ability to reach plastic hinges, to develop plastic hinges, so then you have to take care of local and lateral instabilities to reach full capacity. So local instabilities are web crippling and web buckling. So I'll be discussing about these two terms later. and these can be avoided by proper dimensioning of bearing plate and through secondary design checks. The other thing is lateral buckling. The lateral buckling due to, so this is nothing but out of plane bending and is due to compressive force in the flanges if you're taking an I section or channel section. So this can be controlled by providing sufficient lateral restraint to the compressive flange. See, lateral stability of beams is affected by span of the beam, moment of inertia and support conditions. So if you want to take care of lateral stability, you have to be aware with the span of the beam, moment of inertia and also the support conditions, whether it is fixed or anything. So seeing in detail local failure of flanges, it is nothing but secondary design checks. So the local failure of flanges or plates reduces the plastic moment capacity of a section due to buckling. So it is avoided by limiting the outstand to thickness ratios as given in IS 800 2007. So next one is the web of the beam is thin and can fail locally at supports or where concentrated loads are acting. So I'm speaking of local failures of the web now. See, the web of a beam is thin. If you take an I section or channel section, its web is thin and it can fail locally at supports. There are 2 points where it can fail. One is at the supports or at the point where the concentrated load is acting. So there are 2 types of web failures. Web crippling is also called as crimpling. So web crippling is the crushing failure of the metal at the junction of flange and the web. So web crippling causes local crushing failure of the web due to large bearing stresses under reactions at supports or at concentrated loads. I told you that local failures will occur at 2 points. One is at the supports or below the point loads. So this occurs due to stress concentration because of the bottleneck condition at the junction between the flange and the web. You can see here. So this is how the web cripples at the junction here, at the junction of flange and web portion. So this is under point load. So this is how it fails under point load and this is how it fails under support. So at the support, reaction will be acting at the upward direction. So this is why the web will be failing at this particular point. So next type of local failure is web buckling. So the web of the beam is thin, we are aware of it, and can buckle under reactions and also concentrated loads with the web behaving like a short column fixed at the flanges. The unsupported length of the fillet lines for I section and the vertical distance between the flanges or flange angles in built-up sections can buckle due to reactions or concentrated loads, and this is called as web buckling. It is nothing but the bending of the web portion of the I section or channel section. And this web buckling also occurs at 2 points. One is at the support and the other one is at the point where the concentrated load is acting. You can see this is how buckling happens. So now we can get the difference between web crippling and web buckling. So this is under a point load and this is under the support. So both are one and the same. So this web portion in this case acts as a short column whose both the ends at this particular point and this particular points are fixed. So this is how web buckles. So these are the 2 types of local failures. One is web crippling, which occurs at these junctions. It occurs at the top under the point load and it occurs at the bottom at the supports, web crippling. So this is web buckling. This also occurs at 2 points, at the point where the constant load is acting and other at the support. So now let us see the factors affecting the lateral stability of beam. The first one is type of cross sections. The lateral buckling strength can be improved by choosing an appropriate cross section where the moment of inertia about y axis is large. See, box section satisfies this and also has large torsional rigidity as it is a closed section. So the type of cross section you choose also is a factor which affects the lateral stability of the beam. If we choose a section which is symmetrical, then it will be economical. The best type of section is a box section, the hollow box section, which has a large torsional rigidity as it is a closed section. See, open sections like I sections have low torsional rigidity and are more susceptible to lateral stability. If you go for closed section, you'll be having large torsional rigidity. So according to the code in page 54, which is mentioned in clause 8.2.2, it tells that hollow sections need not be checked for lateral buckling strength because it is proved that it is having the highest torsional rigidity. So no need of checking. That is what the code says. So this is the first step. This is the first factor which affects the lateral stability, that is the type of cross sections. The next, the support conditions. The lateral restraint provided depends on the restraint provided by the supports. The effect of various support condition is taken into account using the concept of effective length as given in table 15 of page 58 for simply supported beams and table 16 of page 61 for cantilever beams. So the supports are fixed. Obviously it is a laterally supported beam, and also the effective length also plays a major role here. And if you are using a simply supported beam, you can get the values from table 15, and if you are going for cantilever beams, you can get the values from table 16. So speaking of effective length, this also affects the lateral stability. So this concept incorporates the various type of resistance to the flanges only. For simply supported beams, you can get the values from table 15, and for cantilever, table 16. So next we shall see the behavior of beams in